Hello and welcome to Cargo Masterminds presented by cargo.one. My name is Reggie John, and you are watching Cargo Masterminds presented by cargo.one. This is our weekly episode where we bring leaders from global aviation and logistic companies for a one-to-one conversation. According to data released by the International Air Transport Association, or IATA, Turkish Cargo is among the top 5 cargo carriers in the world based on scheduled freight tons carried. The Istanbul headquartered cargo carrier aims to be among the top 3 cargo carriers in the world in line with the vision set for 2023. For the calendar year 2021, the total cargo revenue was just north of $4 billion as against $2.7 billion in 2020. Turkish Cargo is continuously innovating to achieve sustainable growth with its infrastructure, operational capabilities, fleet, and experienced professionals. Joining me in this episode of Cargo Masterminds to discuss the story behind the consistent growth of cargo business at Turkish Airlines despite the challenges of a global pandemic and the future of Turkish Cargo is Turhan Özen, Chief Cargo Officer at Turkish Airlines. Turhan joined Turkish Airlines as Chief Cargo Officer in December 2016. Before joining Turkish Cargo, Turhan spent just over 16 years working with Siva Logistics and TNT Logistics. He started his career with IVECO, or Industrial Vehicle Corporation, an Italian transport vehicle manufacturing company. Turhan, welcome to Cargo Masterminds. Delighted to have you speaking to us in this episode.
Thank you, Reggie. Good morning, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you.
Turhan, let's start with the latest available traffic numbers, and that is for the month of February and also for the January-February 2022 period. And when you compare these numbers to that of 2019, the increase is 3.5% for February and 5.3% for the Jan-Feb 2022 period. How and what are you doing things differently to deliver such performance?
First of all, when I joined to do Turkish Cargo in late 2016, I shall say that I found it a very strong, dedicated, committed team focused on excellence, focused on operational efficiency and operational excellence. And also I found a strong board of directors commitment into the cargo business unit. So it was, first of all, when I started, it was a great strength altogether. And within 6 months, early 2017, we came up with what we call Vision 2023 of Turkish Cargo, which is practically putting the strategic roadmap of taking Turkish Cargo from a ranking of 18 according to World ACD and 22 according to IATA Freight Ton Kilometer lists into the top 5 of the global air cargo carrier league. Obviously, in order to do that, you have to be also one of the best within the top 5, one of the best 5 in terms of customer services, in terms of performance and operational reliabilities. All these strategies executed strongly until 2019, before pandemic. And just before reaching to the late 2019 numbers, we realized that we had already ranked 7th and 8th according to the World ACD and IATA rankings. But the spirit of this strategic roadmap is related to, if I would need to say one single word, is agility. This is practically what we were aiming for. Turkish Airlines is not the airline who would invest the maximum amount of investment to the freighters or a maximum amount of financial power into the competition play in order to make sure that you are totally separated with the competition. We have limited resources. However, we know we have our strengths, but also we have limitations as well. So we try to build this strategic roadmap so that we can leverage our strengths and overcome our limitations accordingly, but do all these in an agile way. And with agility, what I understand, what the team, with the team in Turkish Airlines Cargo Business Unit here, we understand is speed, flexibility with efficiency. That's basically what we are doing. Speed in decision-making, speed in commercials, customer responsiveness, efficiency in all of our processes, and adaptation and flexibility in order to meet the changing circumstances. So when the pandemic unfortunately hit the world early 2020, probably we were as a team almost ready to meet such a challenge. Therefore, in the first weeks of the pandemic, starting by late January, when we realized that our numbers in ex-China Far East are trembling, though it was just before the Chinese New Year, so we would expect a high volume originally there, as you know, but it was trembling. So we realized that this is spreading and this is becoming a worldwide threat. And during February and early March, we were able to together work with our civil aviation, obviously, but also several technical departments of Turkish Airlines. We were able to prepare some of our passenger freighters, passenger planes, especially B777s, and some Airbus 330S type of aircrafts into the first lower deck loading, full lower deck loading as a cargo-friendly passenger plane, and also later on, starting by the first week of March, into the main deck loading where the seats, without the seats being removed. So this created almost between the first idea and execution took less than 3 weeks time. And I think it was a record time. So, and we were one of the first companies to launch the passenger freighters, or freighters in other words, starting by mid-March, much earlier than several of our competition, I assume, as far as we can follow there. And though the capacity of the belly, the capacity of the passenger were shrinking and became almost null till the end, by the end of the March time, we had already a significant passenger freighter capacity in our hand. So that's one, is just a unique example that shows how agile an organization can be facing the radically changing circumstances of the market, of the competition, and of the whole economy of the world. There are certainly several other examples that I can really take on with that. We are one of the few, maybe first and few carriers that build 100% pharma compliant corridors. For Turkish Cargo, it is above 400. So it means that there are 400 origin to destination routes where your pharma is 100% compliant from your origin handling delivery until the final delivery into the destination handling, including the hub and including the flight in both sides. Therefore, to have such compliant pharma corridors was a very strong competitive advantage of Turkish Cargo, on top of being one of the most sustainable and reliable network still running throughout the pandemic times, throughout the peak of the pandemic, but also running compliantly according to the pharma and medical requirements. It helped us a lot to deliver the medical cargoes of our customers, the test kits, medical equipment, isolation and gloves and medical textile, let me say, garments. And finally, the vaccines, COVID vaccines themselves, which at the end of the day in 2020 and 2021, our market share of the pharma products reached significantly above our capacity, up to 8.5% of the global market, which probably makes us either the second or the third best volume carrier of pharma carrier of the world. All these different actions related to technology, related to HR, and related to operations, related to commercial applications from an innovation perspective, from a speed and flexibility perspective, created a huge competitive strength for Turkish Cargo in the market.
Let's get into the latest financial numbers. That's also a phenomenal result that you had for 2021. And I will not be wrong if I say the phenomenal performance of the cargo division helped the Turkish Airlines and perhaps the only combination carrier in the world to record a profit very early on in the pandemic, despite several challenges. For the year 2021, it's 4,015 million US dollars as against 2,722 million in 2020. Turhan, give us a sense of the cargo revenue growth quarter after quarter and year after year. It's a fact that yields are very high, but Turkish Cargo is also carrying more volume of cargo in comparison to the pre-pandemic period.
In terms of revenue, we have more than doubled our revenue in 2021 compared with 2019. Also in 2020, it was more than 65% more than 2019. But when it is 2021, it is more than doubled. Turkish Airlines, with the right strategy of its chairman and the board back in 2016 and 17 to invest and grow in cargo as a combination airline, paid off. It was a very strongly well stated strategy. Every progress that we could have done before pandemic certainly helped Turkish Airlines as a total company, a corporation, to perform one of the best balance sheets, one of the best financials in global airline industry. And that's certainly thanks to several saving initiatives and projects, but also it's thanks to cargo business unit. Turkish Airlines is the largest passenger network worldwide. We fly to the highest number of countries in the world. That makes also a great advantage for cargo from a belly capacity and belly network perspective. The location of Turkey, specifically Istanbul, as a hub, is also an enormous strategic differentiation. We are able to fly more than 60 capitals within 7 hours flight time. It means even our colleagues in passenger side are able to launch narrow body aircrafts to these routes if necessary. This location of the hub and Turkish Airlines center of operation makes a perfect sense for the global cargo business as well, from the center of gravity perspective, similar to passenger, being very close to Istanbul. The only difference that should be very carefully designed to work together, cargo and passenger commercial managers and planning teams, is that Turkish Airlines is also a strong narrow body fleet operator. The locational advantage help us that a significant part of our passenger fleet is narrow body. Therefore, we are operating more than 20 freighters into our cargo fleet to make sure that this advantage of the location, together with 120 plus wide body passenger aircrafts, make the volume and network coverage of Turkish Airlines as much as possible. So basically, with this strategy of having enough volume and capacity of freighters, together with the passenger network and fleet of our company, Turkish Airlines, paid off very well during the pandemic. I can say that the planning teams of cargo and passenger, especially in 2020 and early 2021, worked together almost as a one team, as a single team, into the planning of the passenger routes as well, because many of the passenger routes were making feasible or were making financially a sense just thanks to cargo, the belly cargo carried, and the revenue come from the cargo perspective. Therefore, even the planning function of the passenger and cargo originally being a little bit separated from in normal times were to be carried together as a mutual planning, as a joint planning, let me say, during the pandemic times. So all these examples show that Turkish Airlines played the strengths of being a combined airline very wisely, very smartly to launch its passenger aircrafts for cargo, to run the planning together, and at the end come up with the highest revenue growth in cargo business units. And this helped surely to the financials of the Turkish Airlines.
Tell us about the freighter fleet size now. I believe it is 22 aircraft. And how many passenger aircraft do you have in fleet for the cargo-only passenger flights or freighters?
In the peak of pandemic times, we reached up to 35 plus passenger aircraft, many being B777s and some being A330s to use fully for cargo business. But obviously now times are changing, hopefully, fortunately, and the business of passenger is also recovering. And by the way, Turkish Airlines passenger business is also doing a great job. Their performance, the market share, the global exposure of the passenger business unit during the pandemic and now just after the pandemic during the normalization is steadily increasing. We are not anymore so strong in our passenger freighter fleet. We are currently using 5 units of passenger aircrafts, being 777s again and 330s, dedicated for cargo business. And I assume by the summer season, by April and onward, hopefully the passenger business gaining more momentum, they will be totally turned out to passenger aircraft. And by the way, this is not mean a loss for cargo. It means that they will become a part of our belly capacity, which means that the planes will be much more efficient, use cargo in the lower deck and passenger in the main deck. Other than these 5 passenger aircrafts for the moment used for cargo, we have also running what we call zero low pass, currently 2 units of zero low pass, and will be 4 by the end of this month. And I believe as long as the regulations keep the availability and authorization regulation accordingly, we will keep at least a minimum of 4 zero low pass Airbus 330s in our fleet. Zero low pass are the ones that the seats are carried out, are taken out, are disassembled. So the main deck is also relatively easy to load and unload in the respective stations.
Turhan, there's a lot of news around new production freighters, new converted freighters, wide-body planes are getting converted, and there's a huge demand for freighters now. Turkish Cargo, are you looking to add more freighters into your fleet, or is there a plan to phase out some of your existing fleet types?
We are certainly looking the ways to increase our capacity, again, in a cost-effective way. Therefore, we also see that some of the costs of leasing freighters really became too high We don't think that in the long run they are sustainable, as long as the capacity of passenger business in worldwide and the belly capacity comes to the 2019 levels. Maybe by 2023 or latest in 2024, there will be certainly some supply and demand readjustments where we believe the prices and the rates will be a little bit more moderate than today. Therefore, in the long run, we continue our fleet investment plan, but in the short run, we are checking for some efficient solutions, either by zero pass or by conversions, as you mentioned, or by some short-term, like 1 year wet lease options. I can say that in the demand, and I think also that's very much related. Probably it will be your next question related to demand and supply of the market. Many of our audiences may know before pandemic, in a normal, relatively normal air cargo market, global air cargo market, the belly to freighter ratio was like 60 to 40. And certainly with the pandemic that changed. And currently we can see that this is the other way around. Even in the last few months where the passenger volumes are increasing, still almost 60% of the total volume or total capacity are coming from the freighters, and only 40, but sometimes even less than 40 are coming from the belly side. And this still push a lot of pressure on the rates, on the prices, with demand increasing steadily, but capacity and supply has difficulty to catch up with this demand. I believe 2022 will be most probably the last year of such supply and demand in balances. I believe, and also I hope the world will stabilize, certainly into a new equilibrium, maybe not exactly as pre-pandemic conditions, but still more stabilized than today, having more belly capacity around, having more of combined airlines providing passenger routes with reliable belly capacity, Turkish Airlines and other ones as well, certainly. And this will stabilize, this will have to stabilize the supply and demand especially in the major markets in the long run. Maybe not in the next few months with all the challenges that are keeping and continuing still, but eventually in the late this year or latest starting by next year.
In the midst of capacity constraints and increasing freight rates, how are you reworking your commitment to your long-term customers? Are you noticing a trend from your customers or freight forwarders where they are increasingly looking to lock in long-term capacity?
Yes, certainly. However, the rates is always a challenge in this, let's say, relatively unstabilized times. So we see more and more customers to go after BSAs, but rather than to have hard BSAs, what we call, let's say, relatively soft BSAs, so that the rates are more subject to market conditions, but the capacity is committed. That's certainly the first priority of our customers, to have a reliable capacity from A to B, so that they are able to provide their services to their final customers, the shippers or the consignees. When it comes to the rate part, I believe that's like a knife with two sides, two edges being sharp. To lock rates in a relatively mid-run, even in midterms, is very risky, not only for air cargo carriers, but also for forwarders as well. That, like the recent challenges coming from Russia-Ukraine war, and the capacity of Russian cargo carriers going out of the market created a sudden capacity change between Far East and Europe, or Eurasia, let's say. And if we consider the Trans-Siberian railway connection also now being distorted, that is certainly a significant capacity getting out of the market. So to really put a price commitment in the long term is more like throwing dice and gambling. So I see many of our customers and other cargo carriers certainly are not after this gambling because of the lack of prediction, lack of reliable forecast is making the problem. But the commitment of the volume from a soft PSA perspective is certainly there. And yes, I agree with your question, with your point. More and more customers are looking for this commitment as the global supply chain disruption created more demand for the global air cargo traffic because air cargo still being the most reliable, not only the secure and safe, but also the most reliable transportation mode in the global supply chain. Therefore, we see more and more customers are turning to air traffic and looking after reliable volume commitments, and the price is a secondary topic for under these circumstances.
When you joined in 2016, Turkish Cargo, with the world's largest network, had 1.8% air freight market share, and you led that cargo division take that figure to 4.5 in 2019 and to 5.2% in the first quarter of 2021. You are already among the top five based on IATA scheduled freight tons carried numbers. What is the goal that you have set for Turkish Cargo, and how do you plan to achieve it?
Okay, thank you. In the beginning, as I said, I was lucky when I joined Turkish Airlines, and I was being in the freight forwarding and 3PL side. I was already witnessing to the strengths and weaknesses of Turkish Cargo from the customer perspective. I was the other side of the desk as a customer of Turkish Airlines and Turkish Cargo, seeing their position. So I was very lucky when I joined to find such a strong and committed team in Turkish Cargo, and very strong and again very committed chairman and board of directors to focus on cargo and to convince the whole board and shareholders so that cargo is a core business of Turkish Airlines. Not only passenger, obviously passenger has the majority, but cargo is also core business of Turkish Airlines so that Turkish Airlines can play the strengths of the combined airline advantages. So after this now 6 years of journey, we certainly, as you realized and mentioned, made our commitments earlier than our vision. So we are now working into our new vision since late last year, and we are about to finalize and get it officially shared, very recently indeed already shared. We are now looking for a new vision. We call it the Vision 25 for us. So 2023 is already next year. So for our vision and long-term strategic planning, 2025 is our milestone. And in 2025, we aim to make Turkish Cargo within the best three of the global cargo markets. We will be the best three, within the best three. We will be one of the best three cargo service providers, air cargo carriers in the world. This will certainly make us, from a number perspective, within top three as well. But now our focus is totally into, with our volumes now reached, is totally focusing on customer value, customer service, operational performance, reliability. Also that now we just moved to our new hub, Smartest, in Istanbul Airport. Therefore, we want to make sure that according to our customers' perception and understanding, Turkish Cargo is one of the best three cargo carriers in the world. This will certainly make us also top three in terms of volume and financials.
E-commerce in general across geographies is growing in double digits, and this gives rise to a lot of cross-border cargo movement by air by e-commerce companies. How are you planning to take the advantage of this rapidly growing segment?
We are focusing into our product processes and product performance a lot recently. We are totally going into the fundamentals of processes. From organizational structure to the people training on the shop floor, on the warehouse, on the cross-dock, and to the commercials as well. So our product strategies is totally renewed in the last 6 months, I shall say. This is also very much related to our smartest investment as well, having a very specific focus into our products. So, in order to tap into e-commerce market and to leverage the location of Istanbul hub, again being a very strong center of gravity for global cross-border e-commerce movements, we are focusing to our air courier, air mail, and air express products within this hub, smartest. It's certainly related to technology. It's certainly related to some software and solutions, but it's not limited to only these. It is also related to our strategy and management culture to focus on premium product leadership. For us to be successful in e-commerce, our products serving to e-commerce customers, e-tailers, e-platforms should be state of the art, should be the best in terms of meeting their requirements, in terms of several challenging requirements that air cargo carriers are recently, I believe, focusing and learning to really become worldwide e-commerce reliable partners, I should say. Therefore, we have here, I should say, several initiatives. One of them is also might be interesting to share. Here, indeed, we have a joint venture, We World Express, based in Hong Kong, together with ZTO, the Chinese global giant, I believe I shall say, one of the largest parcel handler worldwide, ZTO Express, and also together with our air cargo, air express and mail forwarder PAL, Pacific Limited in Hong Kong. With three partners, we are running this We World Express. Now it is their third year as a virtual integrator. Practically, they are reaching to significant volumes and very significant numbers with the combination of the strengths and competencies of ZTO, of PAL, and of Turkish Airlines, and providing a door-to-door solution, end-to-end solution for global e-commerce distributors, e-commerce platforms, and customers. And they are currently active in more than 20 countries and growing very significantly. I believe this initiative can be a unicorn in the next 4 to 5 years, because the virtual integration together with a global air cargo network presence, a very wide network presence, can provide the most efficient but still very reliable solution to e-commerce players. Because the express part is very expensive. They are organically integrated. Certainly a huge challenge for global integrators to really tap on the big e-commerce volumes from a price and rate competition perspective. And in the bottom line, there are also air mail distribution, which is relatively very slow, lacking track and trace capabilities, and again not matching the requirements of global e-commerce customers. But the right players in the middle, being much more efficient than integrators, but still, because they are virtually integrated, digitally can provide the solutions, track and trace, reverse logistics, custom solutions, and etc. that the customers are expecting, can make a huge difference into cross-border e-commerce transportation. So We World Express is a good example of such initiatives by Turkish Airlines together with our partners, so that we have also a strong representation in the global e-commerce transportation.
Let's talk about another commodity, important commodity, pharma and temperature-controlled cargo, a significant cargo commodity to increase revenue because of its high yield. However, the quality and reliability of service offered will always make the difference for any airline to be successful in this segment. How are you building your pharma vertical capability so that you become a preferred cargo airline for such an important commodity for shippers or pharma shippers?
To make it from a macro perspective, we are certainly focusing into our capacity investments in our hub. Especially now in new smartest building, we increase our temperature controlled service areas in terms of volume, in terms of space, doubled, more than doubled. Therefore, the investments are there. The second is obviously is related to compliance training, providing steamy high standards of services for our customers. And this is certainly need to be end to end, not only in the hub. Therefore, as I mentioned in the beginning, the capabilities and the competencies of our handlers, our partners in origins and destinations are crucial as well. By 2019, we have gone through an extensive project to establish end-to-end pharma corridors, pharma compliant and reliable corridors. And as of today, we reached more than 400 ONDs, origin to destination connections, the routes for any of our customers in Europe, in Middle East, Asia, Africa, in Americas, to reach another destination fully compliant end-to-end from a pharma product handling perspective. The IATA CID standards, the GDP standards, they are all very closely followed. They are all very closely checked and also audited from a process perspective throughout these ONDs in order to make sure that we have all these pharma corridors fully reliable and fully compliant.
Let's talk about the digital strategy and transformation. And these are very key topics that we have been discussing. You've been part of some of panel discussion that you've been part that I had moderated in the past. Ongoing process, and they keep evolving to meet the challenges. What are some of your priorities to have a robust digital infrastructure for your cargo business?
Technology is one of the 4 pillars of our strategic roadmap to reach our vision. This is certainly a differentiator if you play it right with the right technology in the right processes. That's a critical statement in our strategic understanding. The second is the global air cargo value chain is very fragmented. The competition, the regulations created quite fragmented process from origin. The owners of the cargo wanting to send their cargo to a destination until the final delivery into this consignee or receiver. There are several parties that should act in coordination, in harmony, in synchronization to really provide the maximum value for the end customer. We believe digitalization and the level of technologies reached in the recent years creates a unique opportunity for global air cargo marketplace, for our stakeholders, partners. It is to digitally integrate, so act as a virtual integrator without necessarily integrating organically. The several partners throughout this value chain process or supply chain can act like they are acting as a one unit, and according to the requirements and needs of the customers, they can align themselves. Because of this, the digitalization and the connections, integrations, digital integrations with our partners, stakeholders throughout this value chain is crucial to create this solution. Other than that, the digitalization has enormous impact into our internal processes as well. Not only in terms of efficiency, but also in terms of being agile, the agility. To be really speedy, fast, to be really flexible, adaptable, and efficient, you need to use the technology very innovatively and very, let's say, with clear determination. Let me give a few examples related to this internal focus. Back in 2019, we were working together with our IT units into chatbots technology, into RPA, the robotic process automation technologies, more from a experimentary perspective, tests and trials to see what is the best way and route to consider. Late 2019, when we have stuck with the pandemic and all of our non-operational teams had to work, including the management, had to work from home offices. One of the first decisions that we agreed in the senior level, together with our chief information officer and our CEO, is to speed up with our chatbots and speed up with our RPA technology implementations so that we can make our teams working from home much more effective so that we can provide this agile reaction to the market. As early as May 2020, we had already running our cargo, our WhatsApp chatbot, creating a huge facility for our customers to follow the track and traces, to follow the schedules, and also to follow the rates, but also the RPS, the robots installed into our systems that are working like our metal color colleagues to make several of our analytic and engineering works already done by our experts, specialists, and engineers, planners, to be totally carried out by these process automations, and so that our team can focus on deviations, on additional value-add activities, or by focusing only to the management of the total process so that the customer expectations are met or even more than met. So our robots like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and then it's really went on. Now we have recently Echo, Foxtrot, India, Juliet. They are all running different part of our open to automation processes, easy to automate processes. And we believe that in less than a year time, all the identified processes may be fully run with this automation tools. We are not after, this is efficiency, but we are not after cutting our headcounts. The people that we invest into these activities are already experts, are already experienced analytic engineers who work on very significant value-add decisions for our company, either related to products, related to planning, related to sales and commercials and operations. Therefore, we are, in other words, able to save the time of such high caliber and highly talented workforce to really focus on value-add decisions, to value-add monitorings, and any interventions for any exceptions, rather than to run routine analytical jobs because they may be done by these robots. So it come up not only doing those faster, these activities are being done faster, but also now more of our team put their brains into our work in order to improve our results, in order to increase our customer service and our overall performance.
Turhan, I like to end this conversation taking you to talk about Smartest. That's your new cargo facility that you moved in quite recently, and that's from where you were talking to me right now. And just yesterday, I happened to see the new video about Smartest, and there are a few lines that actually impressed me. And it says, "Why is Smartest so huge? Because our dreams are huge." And it says that the trade route of the world now passes through Istanbul. Tell us about Smartest and how it will accelerate the growth of Turkish cargo.
First of all, Smartest is definitely one of the largest hubs now under operation within global air cargo market. When all the phases are fully completed, it would reach to 4 million tons of cargo handling capacity per year. So this number alone makes Smartest is one of the most important few large investments in this area. And by the way, I have to underline that this investment carried on by the Turkish Airlines during the pandemic and completed in late 2021, so that we were able to move our operations and combine it under Smartest just recently, early February. So this is also showing the commitment, dedication of Turkish Airlines board to the cargo business, even under such challenging times of pandemic, to keep up with the investment of this hub, so that the hub was ready, and now we are able to move in. We just moved in and running these operations. However, while we put the name Smart East for Istanbul, being for Istanbul, for a reason that we are not after volume, we are not after a size, we are not after only financials. They are the results of your good performance. And your good performance is mainly considered, defined by the perception and by the delivery of the value to the customers. Therefore, we wanted this hub, this site, this terminal building, not only be one of the largest, but certainly be one of the smartest. The project started as early as 2016. The first weeks of me being in this company, we were together with the team working on the conceptual design of the smartest. What I mean is, from a technological perspective, from automation perspective, but from man-machine interface perspective, but all being very smartly selected just to make sure that there is a difference for the customer, not for the sake of technology, not for the sake of automation, but to make sure that we have a difference for the customer. So the technology is already invested within Smartest, is just a small portion of what we are planning to build more from a smart solution perspectives into the building. So the building itself acts like a infrastructure. We have certainly having strong investments of ASRS, automatic storage and retrieval systems, pallet container handling systems, a lot of automation to speed up the handling, so that the connection times are fastened, so that any error or any mistakes types in terms of wrong shipments, wrong deliveries or wrong packaging, or in terms of any challenges related to safety or security became almost close to zero. These automations are crucial. But it's not only that part. We believe that there is a huge potential in the new technologies, at least in some of the new technologies, that man-machine interface can jump up, can increase radically from an efficiency perspective and from a performance perspective. Like augmented reality glasses, either in picking or in loadmasters loading and unloading the freighters. Such technologies, when they are integrated into the total solution system of the cargo management, they can really create a value for the final proposal of Turkish Cargo. It's either by efficiency, or by speed, or it's by much less likelihood of any errors or mistakes, any delays or any conditions that are not very favorable, in any inconveniences. So the investments into Smartest still keep on. We believe that by this year, second half of this year especially, and by next year, our customers and other players will see more and more the positive impact of the Smartest into our operations and into our total deliveries to our customers. And it's not only capacity, it's a capacity managed the smartest way.
Turhan, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Recep. It was a pleasure also for me to have this conversation with you. I hope our audiences enjoy as well.
That was Turhan Özen, Chief Cargo Officer at Turkish Airlines. I hope you enjoyed watching this interview. If you like what we do, please do share it with your friends. Also, if you're not a subscriber of our YouTube channel, please do subscribe now and click the bell icon so that you do not miss any of our new videos. Join me next Monday as I bring a new guest for a one-to-one conversation here in Cargo Masterminds presented by cargo.one. Until next Monday, take good care of yourself and have a great week ahead. Thank you.